would you call roll?
Ms. Benecki.
Present.
Dr. Brown. Mr. Essenplayer. Here. Ms. Hoag.
Here.
Ms. Hollingsworth.
Here.
Ms. Paoli.
Here.
Mr. Seidel.
Here.
Vice President Hogartle.
Here.
President Crooked.
Here. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Okay, Dr. Krill, could you please read the statement concerning open public meetings?
Public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been given by the Superintendent of Schools in the following manner. On January 12th, 2022, notice of this meeting was posted on the interior of the school administration offices at 1 Lincoln Avenue, Haddonfield. A written notice was submitted and filed with the Haddonfield Borough Clerk, and notices were emailed to the Courier Post and Retrospect newspapers.
Okay, let us start with the student commendations, which is a great way to get us started today.
If I take it for us.
Yes, please do.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you, everybody, for having us here. And good to see everyone. Thank you so much for being here. It's always great to start out honoring some great accomplishments from a few of our very, very many outstanding students. First, I'd like to introduce Ian Talton. Ian. Ian's being recognized this evening. He is semifinals for his outstanding performance on the 2021 PSAT NMSQT, which serves as an initial screening for this program. Out of approximately 1.8 million students, 16,000 are recognized, which is less than 1%, and Ian's one of them. So I want to recognize him. I would now like to invite Julian Durkin, Sophia Johnson, Lola Cook, and Ryan Calden over to us. For you. Students that are here with me tonight are being honored by the College Board by the National Hispanic Recognition Award Program. Students have earned this distinction again through their outstanding performance on the PSAT and NMSQT, which was given last October here at Haddonfield Memorial High School. Of 400,000 students, only 5,000 are recognized. So congratulations to all of you on this outstanding achievement.
Well, why don't we wait and do that for the
Thank you.
Congratulations. Excellent work. Thank you. Great job. Now I'd like to invite Taya Spellmeyer to come forward. Please. This past summer, Taya was a participant at the New Jersey Governor's School. While she was there, she worked on a project with NFL alumni group, which has now been accepted to the MIT IEEE, which will be presenting this weekend. So this project focused on NFL injuries with youth, right?
Yeah, we evaluated the relationship between like socioeconomic factors and these athletes versus like their athletic performance on like a spark span sport.
Amazing. So inquiring minds might want to know, what are the odds Jalen Hurts plays in every game?
Unfortunately, I don't know.
So if at MIT this weekend you come across any of this stuff, please come back. We all just
I'll do my best.
awesome job. Congratulations.
Thank you. That's a lot for me.
Up now, let's invite Celia Wojcik forward, please. Celia's here tonight. She's been named the #1 oboe player in state of New Jersey. Congratulations, Celia. It's amazing. So she's #1 oboe in state. She'll be playing in the All-State Orchestra in Atlantic City of Boardwalk Hall on November 11th, and at the concert at NJPAC in Newark on November 20th. Rehearsals have just started. And she'll be down in Atlantic City from November 9th to the 11th. And the great thing about this is being #1 oboe player in state frequently leads to an invitation to join a regional selection, which is a third in the country, right? So Celia's an outstanding oboe player. We want to congratulate you on this tremendous award. Nice. Thank you all. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank
you.
Okay, Charlotte Lucas is here with us today. She's going to be doing the student representatives report.
We're going to start this with the start of the school year. We welcomed the class of 2026 into the high school, and this was the first year in the past couple of years that we started in like a state of complete normalcy, which was really fun. We had Start Strong testing just like this past week. Testing was successful, and seniors were able to take their final standardized tests that they're required to take. We also had back to school night, which was a success. All parents got to meet teachers of their students. With athletics, fall sports began back in August with preseason, and then all games, meets, and competitions have been going smoothly. And last Friday night, the football team had their first home game, and the student body kind of came out and did red, white, and blue. And the final thing we have is we wanted to provide a brief student perspective on some of the current topics that have been discussed at recent BOE meetings. From conversations among peers, it has been clear that we have seen a noticeable benefit from certain SEL lessons. However, with more student feedback, and professional development, we can increase this to all of them. Also, in the inclusive atmosphere of our school is something that we as students believe is an extremely important aspect of our community, and we intend to protect. And that's
Okay, thank you very much, Charlotte. So everyone's getting off to a good start, right? It's hectic September of senior year. So congratulations for being almost there. And I'm glad too. It's great that you get to start your senior year with the normal year. So I think that's something we all appreciate. Okay, moving on, we're going to do the presentation for the 2021-22 NJSIAA ShopRite Cup.
I brought some of our student athletes that were instrumental in winning the 18th ShopRite Cup. So, you guys want to come up? Would you line up right here? Well, this is our annual affair, I guess, where NJSIA presents the ShopRite Cup to Haddonfield for being recognized as the best Group 2 athletic program in the state of New Jersey. The State Athletic Association calculates points won based on how teams do in each sport throughout the school year. And they give 10 points if you win the state championship, 8 points if you come in second place, and 6 or 5 in certain sports if you finish as a sectional champion and lose in the state semis. So in the fall, we had girls soccer and girls tennis. They were sectional champions. They each got 5 points for Haddonfield. Our boys and girls cross-country teams and football were state champions, and they got 10 points. So we had 40 points in the fall. In the winter season, we followed up with 44 more points, And we have a boys, winter track took, third place, girls winter track took second place. And then we have the girls winter track, the state champions in the winter track relays. And our boys and girls swim did the, double with, state championships. In the, spring season, we got 34 more points with boys lacrosse being, state finalists. Boys tennis as well, took second place at states. Boys track took second place, and our girls lacrosse team beat Mountain Lakes for another state championship. Another tremendous year. That would have given us 118 points. Then we got another 9 for being disqualification free. None of our students were rejected at any contest throughout the entire year. So for a school to remain DQ free, not to have any ejections in the season, you get those 3 bonus points. And some ShopRite Cups in certain groups have been determined by those extra bonus points, and we get them every year. And I'm very proud of the sportsmanship that our student athletes display in and out, representing our school, our town, and our community. And for that, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations. Thank you all for your support. Can you get right back here? Let's take a picture. Look up, right here. There you go.
Sorry, speak at the volume.
Yes, it is.
Oh.
All right, on to number 19, 22-23 school year. Good luck to all, and thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Okay, for committee reports, I believe we all went last week, right? Anyone? You don't have any committee reports?
Have a quick.
Oh, sure. A policy update from Lynn?
So I know I mentioned last week that we would have, we hoped to have a resolution on the agenda this week regarding the mandatory updates to policies 5512 and 8465, which require Chuck to report all bias-related acts to the Haddonfield Police Department and the Camden County Prosecutor's Office, no matter what the individual circumstances are or the age of the students involved. We did draft a resolution, but unfortunately, I was never able to reach our New Jersey State Board rep this week. We heard from our board attorney today, and he suggested some edits. It's a pretty lengthy resolution, and it's serious. So we want to make sure we get this right. We decided to postpone it till next month. We will review it in policy committee, which is on October 6th, and distribute to all of you for review, and hopefully have inclusion on our October board.
And we're also going to see about anyone else wanting to sign those.
I'll be reaching out to county superintendents and law enforcement, see if anyone else wants to join us in signing that.
Thank you, Lynn. Any questions for Lynn on that one? Okay, any PTA updates this past week? All right, regulations for board review. We're going to have the abolishment of the regulation 2432. School-sponsored publications, which is just there is a new version of that, right? So, okay. Dr. Krill, do you have an assistant superintendent report? And thank you so much for subbing in for the VA
Yeah,
today.
I'm not as much of a presence as Mr. Catalano, but no formal report from this night.
Thank you. Mr. Klaus, do you have any
Certainly,
today?
yes. This is a quick one, and I'm almost. I'll share first. So last week I talked about our grades and looking at grading trends, and for a while we've been talking about looking at our post-graduation data. And I have up here a teaser because this is another thing that to look at completely would have 70, 80 slides in it. So I wanted to look at it, but I think this is really a work session topic. And I think as we get so we've been talking about revisiting our strategic plan, revisiting those goals. And I think this is something we want to attack when we're really close to there. I think looking at the grades and those questions, I don't want to teach people to give a presentation, have questions at the end and not answer those questions. So I just want to give a teaser, a few slides, give you an overall view, but look at this and say, okay, we're going to soon, very shortly, I hope, we're going to relook at our strategic plan. That's when we really want to dig deep into this and say, okay, what does this tell us about what we're doing and we're not doing? So the takeaway when you look at this is our students have demonstrated continued steady success, and the performance post-graduation lines up with the data we've seen recently. The SAT scores are highest in the area, the niche rankings are 15th in the state of the school district. I have here where our data got from. So the National Student Clearinghouse is a service, and they track students through college, post-graduation. They can't say 12, and also post-graduation. So we pay for this service. They provide our data. But to pull some of the national data, I also want other places because they don't have sort of specific data I was looking for. So I also grabbed some data from the National Center for Educational Statistics. First slide we have here is this is our percent enrolled the fall immediately after high school. So class of 2016 graduates in 2017, where are they, right? Where do they go? The red line is in 2 years. So the red line indicates anyone who attended school, college in the first 2 years of graduation. You can see we're up there close to 97, 98%. The blue line is the initial fall. So we have kids take gap years or don't start off in September. They're going to start in September and hold off till January. So those numbers are a little lower. You can see that. The yellow line with the dots, I pulled that from the National Education. That's the average, national average for high income school districts. So you can see we're doing better than the national average for like school districts as ourselves. This is by institution. So this is 2-year, 4-year college, us against national averages. The blue is all of our institutions. We saw it before. The red line below that is a 4-year. The bottom line is our 2-year institutions. And then those 3 lines in the middle are national average. The green is total and the 2 and the 4 years. So you see, once again, as a national average, we're well above the national average of attendance and specifically in 4 years as well, 4-year schools as well. This is a big one. This is persistence. So this is one of the things you look at is when you look at schools, that's one of the things they look at as a real heavy data point. How many people stay in school after the first year? So the 75, the red line there is the national average of persistence. This is not necessarily the same school, just stay in school for 2 years. We're up there. You can see where we are at the top. Most of our students, high 90%, stay in school for the second year. You can see it's a little lower there for the national average. 6-year degree. So this is interesting. The norm nowadays, and I have theories of maybe why, maybe college tuition makes more money this way. The norm is this: the average, the graduation average is a 6-year look, not a 4-year look. Even though college is supposed to be a 4-year, when they look for graduation statistics at college, they look at 150% time. So it's what you find usually is a 6-year graduation rate is one of the big finders. And you can see we're running about 70, 80% for our students graduating within 6 years. Nationally, it's more like 65%, 63%, right in that range. So once again, we're performing well there. And this was an interesting slide. This is out of the last, since 2012 up to 2018. So since it's a 6-year graduation point, they don't look at 2019 because the 6 years haven't expired yet because this data is run in the spring. So 2018, so between 2012 and 2018, that's 1,325 students graduating from HMHS. These are the top 25 colleges you go to most often. So as you would imagine, Rutgers is number 1, state school. Rowan, number 2, another state school. College of New Jersey, state school. Then we have St. Joe's. You see them coming in there. I was surprised. I would have thought Camden County College would have been in the top 5. It's 7 behind Drexel, right ahead of Penn State and Penn. So I think this is a pretty telling picture of where our kids attend school. So once again, I just did a little teaser. There's about 75 slides in this presentation, but I pulled the whole thing up. So I didn't want to just rush through, but I've been promising this. So I wanted to make sure I got it out there. Once again, I think it jives kind of well with some of the stuff we've been seeing with stuff from our data from the last few meetings. So any comments or questions? I know it's just a real quick thing out there.
Do we track, how many of our kids transfer?
So, and that's part of,
That's right.
so that's when we get into that, we do have transfer. We have transfer, people take time off and come back. So all that data is in there, so we can get to that. That's really something I think we want to look and sit and talk about for half an hour. Like, oh, look at this. This is interesting. How many people are transferring there or there, as opposed to just a quick. Because I was not going to do this, but I had promised him for 3 months. So I want to make sure I did that. So we have all that data about how they go and continue throughout the process. And we have kids who aren't even, for whatever reason, they don't make it into the clearinghouse. I'm not quite sure. I'm trying to research that still, but we have all these things as well.
But the 6-year data would include someone who has transferred if they.
Correct. So the 6-year graduate doesn't mean they graduated when they went to school. It means they graduated within 6 years from somewhere.
Yeah.
And the other part that's there is kind of tricky with that is their 2-year graduations are in there too.
Yeah.
So that's another tease out we have to do as we look at the data really deep is the 2-year versus the 4-year. We break down private versus public, in-state, out-state, all that material. We have all that information. We'll take a deep hard look at it. Probably, I'm going to say, I would think January, maybe December. If we're going to look at a new strategic plan, maybe in the spring, it might be a good time to look at that. So,
Will you be putting this on the website? Or?
Yes, we'll be at the website tomorrow morning.
And I'm sorry, I don't always, because I'm at the meetings, where do you put it on the website?
Under the board of ed, under the news, there's only all the presentations there. All right. That's all I have. Oh, you know what? We had a visiting session. Visiting session for long-range facility planning was here on Tuesday. There's another one here next Thursday. I would encourage everyone to come. Tuesday was specifically at the Bancroft, the Hopkins parcel. Next week is going to be at our current state of our buildings, classrooms, more of the educational space, going over which HVACs need to be replaced, what windows need to go, that type of nitty gritty. We're trying to separate those out because the Bancroft, the Hopkins parcel is such a big deal that we wanted to make sure we had separate time just for that discussion.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay. I don't have much for my president report, just reminding everyone for the public comments, we made a few changes last week that we're in flux. As we go, we'll tweak it. But what we're doing is there's no more separation between agenda and non-agenda items, so everyone will be able to speak at the same time, so you don't have to be trying to manipulate your comments so you can go first, because it's all important. Let's just put it all together. You are held to 3 minutes. Greg is going to be our timekeeper. Keep in mind that comments are made for the board, not for the public. So we really want to discourage anyone turning around and facing and addressing the audience. You're here to address the board. We're allowing 1 hour for public comment. So everyone needs to make sure you get your first comments in, and when everyone has made their first comments, then I'll make a call for second comments. But I just want to make sure everyone gets a first comment in. And 3 minutes, Greg will start giving a little wave when you start getting close to like the 30-second left mark. And then we're going to keep you to the 3 minutes. So, okay. Oh, other thing was last week, you weren't here, didn't watch it. We started our first committee of a whole, which is an opportunity for the board together to discuss an issue that's relevant. Last week we talked about opting out and are in the parents' statement of conscience. And then this next month we're going to be talking about the Equity Council. That's been on hold. We need to really think about what that is going to look like going forward. And so we really think that's a good opportunity for us all to talk and weigh in and kind of think about where that's going and how it's going to look as we re-envision it. And that'll be next month's working session.
2 weeks from now. We have
October 13th.
October 13th.
Do I look at the photo outside? Tired. Okay. All right. So are we on? We're on to public comments, so begin.
Statement.
Good evening,
Do not need the statement.
Nancy Sullivan.
Oh, I forgot. Nancy, do you mind if I read the statement? I knew I was forgetting something.
Can I stay there?
Yes, yeah, you can say that. Thank you, Meg. We'll now begin the open public comment session. Members of the community are invited to speak up for 3 minutes at this time. If you'd like to make an additional comment, you must wait until each person has had a chance to make their initial statement. All comments must be directed towards the board, not members of the public. According to our bylaws, comment session can last no longer than 1 hour. This is an opportunity for the board to listen but not debate issues or enter a question and answer period. Please be aware that not all issues brought up before a board meeting will be resolved that evening. We ask you to identify yourself by stating your name and the name of your street. You may make your comment to the board. While public education can be an emotional issue, we strive to maintain a certain level of decorum at the meeting. Public meetings are recorded and televised, and students often participate in the meetings. As such, citizens are expected to maintain a tone of courtesy and civility. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Nancy Sullivan, 298 Hawthorne Avenue. Within the school district, I am often referred to as a special needs mom, and my child is referred to as a special needs child. 16 years ago, he was diagnosed with autism. My husband and I didn't know much, and we were scared, but we educated ourselves, and it became less scary. We often heard, if you meet one person with autism, you only met one person with autism. Because one person has uniquely different strengths and differences and challenges. By far, our best educator was our son. He continues to educate us, his peers, and his teachers. He loves to learn. As a result of his teachers, who continue to be creative, open-minded problem solvers. What I've learned over the last 16 years, that every single child has special needs because each is uniquely special. I want to thank the educators of Haddonfield and the majority of the Haddonfield community who continually learn from our special children and teach in a way that is appropriate for all of them by being creative, open-minded problem solvers. If our special children scare you, please educate yourself. Thank you.
Chris Means, Roberts Avenue. There have been a lot of questions raised about the Equity Council lately. I need to talk about a stunning breach of trust perpetrated by the Equity Council on nearly every child who was a middle school student last year. The Equity Council initiated a survey last February in which they asked middle schoolers, how was your voice heard? Do you have a staff member who you feel comfortable that you can turn to? How many activities are you in? The students answered these personal questions under the expectation of privacy. Other data points were collected too, including school email addresses, which include each student's student ID number, what grade they're in, who their science teacher was. There was a tab full of names under the title of G&T for gifted and talented, and another tab full of names under the title IEP 504, which I think would indicate a special needs status. The fact that the Equity Council was using valuable student and administrative time on the survey is, I think, questionable to begin with, especially in the district where we can't even find the time to teach cursive anymore, which is necessary if someone ever wants to sign a check or vote or get a driver's license. But here's the real travesty. Not only did the Equity Council collect all this data, they left the entire document out on a Google Drive in a non-password protected workbook accessible to anyone. 460 kids' names, 9 data fields per kid. including each child's personal private responses to those survey questions, were just left out there on Google Drive. No password protection for anyone to access, read, or download. You didn't even have to sign into Google to access them. Want to see my two daughters' responses? I have them here. Some of your kids are on there too. Now, it was removed this afternoon quickly after I emailed about it today. But the fact that all this personal private data was collected in the first place is troubling, to say the least. But the fact that it was left out there on the internet unprotected is unforgivable. There needs to be accountability. Where did this equity council even derive the authority to gather this data on our kids? What do they plan to do with it? What was the academic purpose? Who was responsible for safeguarding this information? Is the equity council going to be held accountable for this? Are they going to notify those potentially affected by this data breach? Is the equity council going to apologize for their negligence? This survey, in closing, was a colossal misallocation of resources to begin with in a district where, again, we don't even teach our kids how to sign their own name in anything other than black letters. But this grossly negligent breach of data and breach of trust is inexcusable, and the equity council needs to be held to account.
Hi, I'm Eve Sullivan. I live at 128 West End Avenue in Haddonfield. I'm here tonight because I was on the parents' website on the Facebook page, and there was a conversation about the book George and Amelia, I think, that is taught in 5th grade. And some folks were asking that parents come to the meeting and express their book. So I wanted to come to say that I fully support the book, and I fully support our teachers and administrators to make the best choices for our children and to expose them to the ideas that will protect them by knowing what life is about and will teach tolerance. And I just wanted to say that I fully support all of you and I appreciate all the work they do.
Hi, Mary Burke, Linden Avenue. With each passing meeting, I'm more discontent with the direction of the Haddonfield schools. I look around the room, this meeting and the last, and I see shirts that say welcome, include, value, support, love, accept, affirm, respect, celebrate every child. However, the values, support, love, acceptance, affirmation, respect, or celebration for children whose parents find not only the sex ed curriculum unacceptable, but also are disturbed by how topics of sexuality are seeping into all subjects. Parents, not government officials, teachers, school superintendents, or those on the Board of Ed know what is best for each individual child. And parents know what is best for their own children. This is about all parents and all children's rights, not the loudest. Innocence is fleeting. Child are innocent for such a short time. To New Jersey governor and the board's childhood has no value. Adult topics such as gender, masturbation, anal and oral sex are topics for the school to tackle in their eyes. However, many parents value the innocence of childhood and feel these topics are for parents to broach with their child when the time is appropriate for their child, not the schools. My daughter's godfather is a gay man. He has been in a monogamous relationship for 30 plus years. Not once was his sexuality ever discussed. Why? Because it's none of our business. All my children knew about my daughter's godfather as they loved and enjoyed him and his partner was for who they were, not because they were two men who lived together. Isn't that how it's supposed to be? Maybe the school should start focusing on teaching basic respect instead of identity politics. The Board of Ed is here to represent all children. Please do not forget that, as board members flaunt their social justice t-shirts and show their enthusiasm when a community member speaks to their own ideology. Because you may not believe or value the innocence of children, but many parents do. And you were voted in to represent all children in the community. This means even the children of parents whose political, moral, and ethics do not align with yours. Why are children sent to school? Children are sent to school to be educated in subjects which will give them the ability to be productive, self-sufficient adults, not to become social justice warriors for a political agenda. 20 years from now, when children's education has been sacrificed for the political agenda
of Phil Murphy, the NJEA, teachers, and the Board of Education throughout the state, it will be on you. The lives of children you destroy through the lack of education and a push for social reform. You, the BOE, are on the path through in a whole generation. And if 47% of the students have an A+ average, these children aren't being challenged. Maybe this is what we should be focusing on. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Harding, Rhodes Avenue. I've spoken at these meetings before and appreciate the opportunity to do so again, so thank you. Tonight, I would like to share some insight on the past 2 weeks in my mission to protect my children from starting premature lessons that my husband and I deem inappropriate for our family at this time. I have met with all of my children's principals as well as their teachers, which has been an emotional task to say the least. These 3 things I've learned from these extremely productive meetings. One, despite popular belief, there are teachers, our teachers, that we hold in such high esteem that are not comfortable teaching certain aspects of our current curriculum. I believe asking our teachers to teach these controversial issues is unfair and setting them up to be attacked by one side or the other. These teachers, in most cases, are not trained in what to do or say when they are presented with those difficult questions that will arise. Someone will always be unsatisfied with their answers, and that's not a fair position to put them in. This year, my son was placed in the class of a self-proclaimed very liberal teacher. Some say as liberal as they come, and despite warnings from other families in the district, I decided to talk to this teacher. Me, born and raised in a family of generation after generation after generation of pastors, never allowed to watch MTV, cable TV, or listen to Madonna, so pretty much as conservative as they come, talking with someone deemed to be as liberal as they come. Imagine that. Can I tell you, it was one of the loveliest conversations that I've had in some time. I explained to her who the Hardings are, our beliefs, and that our beliefs were not of exclusion of anyone, but in fact the complete opposite. My family loves everyone of all backgrounds, of all beliefs, because that's what being a Christian means to us. Being a Christian also means that sex is a big, big deal. And literally not a week goes by that I am not blocking another movie, show, or song on an already tightly locked down device. To be clear, this is just not in regards to homosexuality, but all sexuality. I'm the mom that fast forwards through the kissing scenes. Last time I spoke of this in our ways, a woman that spoke after me referred to me as stupid and naive. That's cool. You do you and we do us, family. We take the world sexualization of our children seriously. So when I explained my heart and where I was coming from to this teacher, she responded with a grace and love that I did not see coming. She listened and she heard me. She heard my heart, and then she showed me respect. This teacher actually shared at last week's meeting about our conversation. She's working with us to make us feel comfortable, safe, and included. Which brings me to my last point. For the life of me, I cannot see why it can't be this simple. I'm not up here trying to jam Jesus down anybody's throat. I respect what people want for their children, truly, but I expect that respect in return. It is so hard for me to wrap my brain around anyone feeling that it's okay to assume authority over when my husband and I deem it appropriate for our children to be educated on certain topics. So I have a lot more to say, but basically I'm just asking for it to be fair, for us to be able to opt out of what we, in good conscience, cannot have our children exposed to. Thank you.
Data reader, 19 Euclid Ave. I'm Data Reader, and I teach U.S. history at HMHS. I'm here tonight to satisfy the unsettling sense of urgency that I feel after reading the newspaper, watching the news, scanning a few social media platforms, or speaking with friends and colleagues about the polarization in American society. I am not going to speculate about the causes or engines that drive this discord between the various groups in society. Instead, I'd like to address the potential impact this division might have upon our students. In teaching history for the last 24 years, I've come to the realization that its complexity and humanity in being simultaneously inspiring and disheartening in either one prominent figure, event, or document. Unfortunately, many people misunderstand the subject and favor simplistic labels, or they gravitate to popular ideas without reading the sources, or they fail to consider the possibility that there is more to history than a label or a textbook can offer. In my opinion, our history is a story of progress that rests on the founding principles of equality, liberty, justice, and the freedoms guaranteed in the Bill of Rights. As a nation, we have demonstrated over the years that we are capable of immense change, increasing tolerance, and the realization of greater equality, liberty, and justice. To omit the historical accomplishments of women, African Americans, Native Americans, Asian Americans, immigrants, the LGBT plus community, and other marginalized groups is irresponsible and hazardous to the students of Haddonfield Memorial High School. I hope that all the students that I teach are comfortable in class, that they are comfortable to express their ideas in a respectful manner and to be themselves, whether they are conservative, liberal, religious, atheist, spiritual, a member of the LGBT plus community, or a first generation immigrant. All of us can learn from the likes of gay activists like Frank Kameny and Barbara Gibbons, women activists like Gloria Steinem and Phyllis Schlafly, and Olympians like Jesse Owens and Tommy Smith. I simply request that we, the Haddonfield community, appeal to the better angels of our nation, lifted from Lincoln, to ease the tensions underlining our public discourse and avoid the pitfalls of national politics and cultural wars, to provide the students in the district with a uniquely positive and friendly example of how we carry out our business and disagree without such rancor. Maybe I am naive, but history does teach us that transformational leadership has existed and will most likely return. Let Haddonfield be the center of that change. Good night and good luck.
Good evening. Just as an aside, I was pre-COVID. We used to get the early school calendars mailed to our house, and maybe I haven't heard about it, but I was wondering if that's ever going to be returned and issued to us.
That was Zone PTA. They dismantled,
The library.
but the library has one online, but there's not one printed. But the district didn't print that.
Oh, are
So,
they
but
going
you
to,
can check out the Haddonfield Public Library. It is online. We just don't have it printed.
are you going to print it and deliver it?
No, the school never
Oh,
did it. It was the PTA. But
Thank you, I appreciate that. What I wanted to bring up
Name and
tonight.
street, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, in hearing Walnut Street. What I wanted to bring up tonight is something I've already brought up, and I don't know what's wrong with this. Okay. I had asked that we get some that we get some answers to some financial information. I have July 21st handout, August 25th handout, and now September 29th handout. And I have talked about getting the totals for all these extracurricular activities and also for the coaching assignments. And it's on all of these. And I think for full disclosure, we would like to know how much we're paying. I don't understand, because usually you just hit a button on the computer and your totals of everything come out. I can't figure out if these amounts are for a semester, a quarter, whole year, or what. It's not mentioned. But I don't know why we're not getting these totals. I thought they would be online for everyone to read, but they're not. So once again, I'm just asking, could we please have his financial information? Thank you very much.
It's killing these.
Back again.
Good evening, Jen Fuller, Lena Bakers. Equality is a word that I want in our schools. I want equality for all children. Well, what if equality isn't really occurring that we think we are, that think there is happening? There are many special interest groups trying to advance their own initiatives out of their own self-interest and at the harm and expense of others. And the board member, Dave Seidel, last week reminded and talked about the possibility of being agreeable and disagreeing, and I believe in that possibility too. I would hope that children are being taught that they don't have to agree with everything in the realms of morality in order to be accepted and respected. A first grader probably cannot understand this concept, but I am saddened that middle schooler and high schoolers that I know in this district cannot voice their views if it isn't in agreement with someone else's sexual lifestyle for fear of being a hater. That's polarizing, that's anxiety producing. And let's clarify, sexual orientation is not a race, it is a lifestyle. I don't want any child, any family member, any teacher, any staff to be considered racist if they are not in agreement with someone's life choice of who they date, who they marry, or who they live with. Is it possible to love and respect people in this town without agreeing with their lifestyle? It would seem that if we are transparent and educating our children, that they would know that certain lifestyles are being discussed as good, normal, and healthy are not in agreement with certain communities of the Muslim, Jewish, and Christian faiths. That they believe, these faiths believe, are also good and normal and healthy. It's very confusing. Aren't we required to fairly represent all sides of the issue, all sides of history, all subject matter? And who gets to decide what is healthy, normal, and good? Is it parents? Is it students? Is it the board? I am pleading with the board that we do not place children in a position of either agreement and celebration or to be seen as a hater, as an enemy, as a child of a parent who just won't talk about difficult things. Parents in this community do talk about the same difficult topics, but will possibly share it in a different worldview where their children are taught that they can respect the free will of others, but not agree and celebrate it. Can we demonstrate policy so that children and teachers can take a neutral stance to acknowledge each other with respect, but do not go into the realms of agreement being the only way to acceptance? As a board, what do you want out of your children in the classroom, on the playground, in the sports arena, on the fields? Do you want respectfulness, or do you want indirectly forcing full agreement of lifestyles that will vary from their personal faith and worldview? We should listen to all sides as a society, and we should be able to represent and respect these freedoms of faith.
Courage Avenue. This morning, I woke up and I knew today is a good day. It is a great day because I live in the United States of America. We have the greatest legal document ever written, the Constitution of the United States of America. This is great document exists. In this great document exists the First Amendment that states that I have the freedom of religion, and no government, federal, state, or local, can infringe on this basic right of mine as individual. In addition, we also have the New Jersey law, specifically New Jersey Statute, Title 18A, Education, Chapter 35-2, Year Course of Study History, Section 18A, 3547, Parent Statement of Conflicts with Conscience. And I'm quoting, any child whose parents or guardian presents to the school principal a signed statement that any part of the instructions in health, family, life education, or sex education is in conflict with his conscience, or sincerely held moral or religious beliefs shall be excused from that portion of the course where such instruction is being given, and no penalties as to credit or graduation shall result therefore, I demand of you to respect the law and let parents like me who submit any opt-out form or statement that this curriculum of sexualization, of trying to push kids, on our kids, minors, I should remind you, and that are conflict with my Jewish faith, or you'll bear the consequences of litigations against the BOE or any member personally of the BOE who will try to stand in my way of practicing my rights and my children's rights. That is it.
Stephen Fuller, Lena Bakers. I wanted to talk about fiscal responsibility. I think the budget's about $50 million, which is an enormous amount of money for which responsibility lies in your hands. And I want to know what's being done to consider the potential financial impact of some of these decisions that are looming in terms of what we put into the curriculum. Because as the Board of Education is making decisions to take educational content out and replacing it with non-educational activity, the education, which is a right of citizens, public citizens, has to be accommodated in some manner. So there's going to be a cost as students are opting out of these non-educational activities. And are we budgeting to provide education for these students that are opting out for either religious, moral, ethical, whatever they choose, whatever is legal under the statute that just quoted? We need to account for that financially. So if we go down this pathway of having a large portion of the class opt out of either classes or opt out entirely of the curriculum, are we allowing for that money then to move to other educational formats, whether the money moves to an alternative teaching environment with the existing school, or whether the money moves entirely out of the school if we start to finance education and not finance systems, so that families are able to take the money out and go to other educational systems that are providing education and not non-educational activities. So please consider the financial impact, either for those that are in the system opting out, or for those that are taking their children entirely out of the system, and where that money may go in the future. And also consider the financial impact. Are we now budgeting money for lawsuits that may follow based on some of the decisions that you're making in terms of guardians of these $50 million? Whether you're defending the right to provide this material in the curriculum, or whether you're providing finances for lawyers to fight either for or against this issue, because there's going to be significant financial impact if this material continues in the curriculum. So please consider future budgets for how we're going to allocate for providing the education or the legal consequences of this. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Watson, Birchall Drive. I'm here to discuss my disappointment in learning through the newspaper that the Haddonfield School District had adopted the new sex standards released from the state. I attended the Board of Education meetings. I spoke several times on the need for more transparency to the parents, more collaboration with the parents, and that I was against adopting the new standards. As parents, we have the right to decide when adult topics are introduced to our children. We also have the right to not have politics and certain political agendas in the school. At these meetings, parents brought ideas to the table about how to implement opt-in or opt-out altogether, as other school districts in New Jersey had. We were told at the Board of Education meeting in May that parents would be consulted and that there would be an opt-out form provided. I received an email in May thanking me for my question, and my question was, what are the consequences for opting out?
and that I would be getting back to. In July, I followed up as I had not heard a word about the Haddonfield plan that the parents were supposed to be involved with. I then see in the paper in September that they are moving forward with the new standards to date, and I have not received any information or an opt-out form. I was also upset to watch last week when certain members of the board clapped for a certain member of the community during the public comments, and to see the nod of approval, where I have seen other parents come up here and community members and not be treated in the same respect. As I reflect back since April when I started attending meetings, not one thing has changed. It is apparent that anybody with a different view, opinion, agenda, or concern or objection is led along, then ignored and silenced. So since the board and the admin are not required to answer emails, collaborate with parents, answer our questions or concerns, what is the next step? Because when I reviewed your org chart, the administration reports to the board and the board reports to the parents and the community members who are the taxpayers. Thank you.
Everyone, pardon me. Start by saying I don't believe in radical gender theory until some concepts from this theory are being introduced in the curriculum for our students. I feel concepts such as gender expression and gender orientation should not be taught in elementary school. According to a September 2022 New York Times CNN poll, 70% of the respondents feel the same way, that these issues should not be taught to elementary school students. Similarly, according to a recent Rutgers-Eagleton poll from last week, 60% of people in New Jersey oppose sexual education in elementary school children. Perhaps the board and district should send out a survey to get a pulse on the feelings of these topics from the parents in this district. I understand the law New Jersey passed regarding sex education, but this district has chosen to weave concepts of radical gender theory throughout the curriculum, making it difficult for parents who oppose this ideology to opt out. Further, this district was unprepared the first day of school by not having a live opt-out form for parents who object to these sex ed standards being imposed on their children, which leaves parents who have issues with these teachings feeling shunned by the district and the board. I believe all viewpoints should be respected, and equity and diversity and inclusion of all students is important and needs to be accomplished. But there has to be another way to accomplish these goals that does not include teaching these radical concepts and forcing them on elementary age children and their families. Teaching the concept of bisexuality to a second grader just seems wrong when these children have no idea regarding their own sexuality or what sexuality means. And not co-parenting the Haddonfield School District or the state of New Jersey, and these topics are nuanced and complicated, and I feel this should be left to parents to teach at home. Finally, the Equity Council, which influenced and is supposed to be supported by the school board had a stated goal until a month ago that read, Haddonfield School District will adopt culturally responsive and sustaining practices throughout the district that are equitable, inclusive, radically transformative, and deviating from Western perspectives. Even though the Equity Council has changed the wording of their goal, I am apprehensive about a district-sanctioned council which promulgates such an ideology and wields influence on our board, district, and children. Perhaps the board can look into creating a family alliance council which focuses more on preserving a traditional Western perspective in our education system, so all perspectives are presented to the board. I am against imposing the tyranny of the majority, but also don't want a vocal minority dictating the curriculum in our school system. As I have talked to many parents in the community over the past month who feel the same way, I implore all of you to make your voices heard. Thank you.
Hello, Tina Pigeon, East Park Avenue. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but I think it's important that all opinions are taken into account. And there are parents in this community who believe that the school is the appropriate place to teach facts, that teachers are capable of teaching biological facts, and that awareness and acceptance are the same thing. And so if we are not prepared to acknowledge that there are some differences amongst kids at all ages, then we are not going to have an accepting community. I am comfortable that there are some people who disagree, but I also think the importance here is making room for all kids, no matter what their identity is, and to be able to recognize facts and history as they have evolved over the years, and so that we can embrace a vision of today that is not backwards looking when we teach these facts, but that we can create a community and a place of discussion where different views are accepted, but those discussions occur based on facts that are taught by professionals in the classroom. Thank you.
Hello, I'm the parent of a middle school student and a high school student here in Haddonfield. We moved here 3 years ago.
Name and street.
Oh, I'm sorry, Matt Nurkin, Washington Avenue 307. We moved here 3 years ago specifically because of the quality of the school system here. We rank in the top of the region, the state, and the nation for a public school. And before I start, I'd like to thank the school board and by extension, the teachers and the administrators in our school system for how hard they work to maintain that level of achievement and that level of quality. There's a lot that goes into it. I'm here tonight because I'm troubled and confused about public comments that I've heard tonight and at recent Board of Education meetings. I'm confused by the push to decrease diversity in our curriculum to satisfy a relatively small, albeit very passionate, group of parents. Educational data clearly demonstrates that when children don't see themselves or their family in their curriculum, they disengage. I'm confused that we're arguing about whether we should do something that might cause kids to disengage from their education. Diversity in our curriculum prepares our children for the world that they're going to live in. More importantly, it teaches empathy and compassion for their fellow students and their fellow community members. And while I respect the right to express different opinions, I think it's important to our community, Board of Education and otherwise, I'm confused by the suggestion that an individual parent or a small group of parents should be able to decide what their child is taught and not taught, because effectively those parents are not simply asking to decide what their child is taught in the school. By extension, you're asking to decide what my child is taught in school, what the other children in the classroom are taught. That idea offends me. It also doesn't appear workable. What is the end game of the effort that we're talking about? It's simply impossible for every household in Haddonfield that pays taxes to decide exactly how their tax dollars are applied for their own household. That's why we have representative government. I appreciate the fact that our board is following in New Jersey's law, and as I understand it, while we can discuss different options for opting out, we can discuss tactics. My understanding is that not only are we following New Jersey law, we're actually, as Board of Education, seeking to provide a bit more optionality than the New Jersey law intended. I think that's admirable. I fully support the current curriculum and the intent of our school board to prepare and educate our children for the world that they will contribute to. Thank you for your work.
Walter Weidenbacher, Center Street. So I live in a state of confusion because I live in the state of New Jersey. Not addressing the audience. But for those that, I just want to say for those in the audience who expressed confusion, I want to remind them that I moved to Haddonfield 27 years ago for the schools, like a lot of people do, for the schools, because the schools have a splendid reputation, and that reputation has been around much longer than I have, much longer than anybody in this room has. We have a wonderful reputation in Haddonfield for our schools. But that reputation was not built by the current curriculum. And it was not built by the curriculum that is now being imposed into the curriculum by new ideas and new ways of looking at education. Because the whole reputation was built on teaching the 3 R's, what we now call STEM, and basically hardcore, no pun intended, education. Not new ideas. The new ideas had nothing to do with our wonderful reputation and what's left of that wonderful reputation's curriculum, because our wonderful curriculum has got to be diminishing. I'm waiting for that timer.
Got a minute.
For every little piece, for every little tidbit of new stuff you put into the curriculum, something from the old curriculum has to fall out on the other end of the puddle. What I'm saying is, we're losing, one of the speakers just mentioned, we don't teach cursive anymore. There are so many things that we don't teach anymore in our schools that built the reputation that we're all so proud of. I'm just saying, I hope you keep that in mind. Also, since I have a few more seconds, I would like for the board, the district, to compile a list of all of the topics. I'm asking, this is a request, compile a list of all of the areas and topics and subject matter that has disappeared from the curriculum for the past, say, 12 years. I just say 12 years because we're K through 12. Just a suggestion. I would love to see what is missing. Thank you.
Good evening. Anthony Hollingworth, Roberts Avenue, father of a central cheetah and middle school bulldog. I sat in front of my screen earlier and wrote this out and thought I was going to say some really profound things, but I actually decided against that, listening to some of the topics tonight. And I think the second speaker came up and very passionately talked about her faith and how her family, believes that how they should treat others and how they should work. The fact that she went and talked to teachers and had a positive experience just made me think, you know what? I'm sick of this whole process being hijacked by politics. Some of our speakers clearly wrote what they wrote, and they brought their energy with them, and they doubled down. But here's the thing: nobody is looking for special treatment here. But we don't all need to fully agree on what the curriculum looks like. I support the curriculum. I think it's transparent. Other people can look at it and make their own minds up. That's the whole point of this process. I'm sorry some people look at the curriculum or look at what they think is being taught and think, that their world's changing and they feel threatened. But they're not being discriminated against. The opportunity there is to speak, the opportunity to get involved in government. We don't need to have full agreement and love for others. It's not about showing up here with a diatribe and distributing misleading material in the schools. Opt-outs do exist in the subjects that are very specifically named by law. So people can do that. But some of the conspiracy theories that we're hearing, though, about broader curricular changes and specialized subjects that are seen as a boogeyman that seem to come from some very divisive sources, I think if you talk to teachers, you'd find that they're not nearly as scary as they seem to be, or what the television tells you they are. Litigation, vouchers, political arguments, it's not going to help us at all. It's only going to make things worse and damage the whole school system. I think everyone needs to calm down, talk to teachers, trust teachers, and talk to each other, and stop making this into a circus. Then, if you don't like it still, that's what our representative government is here for. Go and do something useful, like running for office, and become part of the decision-making process. I think it'll reduce everyone's blood pressure and make the board more effective, and make our school district stronger.
Good evening, Jeff Stone, Haddonfield Avenue. I agree with the speakers who have said that we should have an opportunity to talk more about this and have discussion about this. However, we're not at that point. And I'm going to say some things to the board right now that you may not like to hear. but I'm going to quote Section 5C of the School Ethics Act of the obligation of school board members, which is, I will confine my board action to policy making, planning, and appraisal, and I will help to frame policies and plans only after the board has consulted those who will be affected by them. Board members, you have abysmally failed the Haddonfield community, including us in discussions that started 4 years ago, and then resulted in you creating an equity council that was shielded in secrecy, and that proceeded to have discussions without including the rest of the public in there. And because of your failure to honor that obligation under 5C and not include the entire community, not to be very transparent about what you did, the pros and the cons, and allowing us to engage up front in that discussion. And at the end, we may not have agreed on everything, but at least we would have been through the process and trust will be maintained. You broke our trust. You failed us. And now as a community, we're having these kind of arguments over this stuff because you didn't include us at the time we needed to be included. You have failed this. You have divided the community through not including all the people that are affected by this policy, which is, as everyone has stated and everyone agrees, are complex, sensitive. They have more than one opinion. It's not within a single echo chamber that perhaps people on the board are used to hearing from, but there's more people out there. Maybe people that you don't hang out with. Maybe you don't go to the same places, the same parties, but you know what? We are taxpayers. We have our kids there. We're passionate about the quality of education, and you board members, quite honestly, have failed us. And the only thing that you can do to do that, to get that back, is to completely dissolve the Equity Council, to stop all the initiatives that you put forward with changing the curriculum in a radical way, and start from where it should have been 3 or 4 years ago. Say, you know what? Let's get a representative sample of the entire community here. People of different faiths, different beliefs, different political views, people on the left, center, and the right. And let's have them actually engage in meaningful discussion, disagreement at times, but at the end of it, we'll have a conclusion that at least if we don't all agree with, at least we participated in, and then we can move forward as a community. That is the obligation that you need to do, and I will accept. And I don't think the community deserves nothing less than that. Thank you.
Hi, Annie Jacobs from Cedar Avenue. I wasn't planning to speak either, but I just wanted to address the board based on the comments heard this evening, that I would completely disagree with a lot of them. First of all, my son is a second grader right now, and I would like to thank you because I would not like to be a grandmother when I'm 45. So I do appreciate the sex education, which has been in the district, state, local states. I grew up with it. I had it in the 5th grade. I personally feel it's a very important thing because kids, my son included, already are aware of a lot of things. And if they don't have a safe space to speak about that with people they trust outside of the home, including their teacher and peers, I think that can lead to a lot of misinformation, questions, distrust, really, as they start to grow older. The second thing is that I don't think your obligation is to the parents. I don't think you failed the parents. Your obligation is to the students. And I would just like to say, as a community member, I appreciate it if you would continue the path that you're on, because if what we're doing here by teaching our kids about inclusion, equity, or diversity, anything, no matter who the child is, if that can help one member of the Haddonfield community, one child who identifies as LGBTQ+, or may identify, or is curious, if it can save even one of them from feeling lonely, depressed, or possibly taking their own life one day, then that is an uncomfortable conversation that I'm willing to have with my son if it means helping another Haddonfield student. And that's where my obligation lies, is with those kids. And so I just want to say, I appreciate what you're doing. I think you are on the right path. I think obviously it seems like there are ways to even improve it, but I think this is the future, and I'm very proud to be a part of a community that is seeing itself and moving towards the future. So thank you.
Hi, Will Potts, East Cottage Avenue. I've been attending these meetings on and off since about 2004 when my first child went to preschool. And what I will share is I think the board has been at its best when they don't just take what the state says, but they actually stop, think, critically assess what is going on. and make their own decisions. In reviewing the state guidelines, I find that some of them, especially for the younger ages, I find it to be age inappropriate, but that's my opinion. Obviously, others have other opinions, and I respect that, and I appreciate that. I think the diversity of opinions and beliefs is what makes this community so strong. I'm very proud to be in this community. That being said, the board has the great obligation here to take into consideration all the diverse opinions and frankly, just give parents the option to work with them. So thank you.
Okay, we still have a few minutes, so.
I was just gonna say, my kids are, Betty Ann Young, Truman Avenue. My kids have graduated or are in college right now, but I want to thank the Haddonfield Board of Education and the teachers because they are, well, one is transgender and went through a very difficult time in the middle school and was supported by wonderful teachers and decided not to go to Haddonfield High because did not feel that he would be as welcome. So I think that what you're doing in educating and at least exposing kids to kids that are LGBTQ and also I don't know that much about the sex education program. I know there's quite a lot of people here tonight, but I do think you're doing a great job. So, thank you.
Maria Costa, Wedgwood Lane. I just want to start out by saying that I don't support the curriculum. Just because I don't doesn't mean that I want to take anything away from any family. If that's a part of their belief system, if that's what you believe in, that's great. But the shoe has to be on both feet. So what about my family and our belief system and the other families and their belief system? People talk about they don't want suicide. So that can happen on both sides. It's not just one-sided. This is a community of individuals, and they all have their own belief system. You cannot just give the help and attention to one side. That's not going to work. We need a plan. This is getting old and it's getting real tired. So somebody somewhere has to come up with a plan that works for everybody because we all want to just move on. You're talking about one of the most important parts of a person's life. It's their family. This is number one. It's on the top tier. And this has been ongoing. So it's either, I have a suggestion. Maybe you can put out the material that has been changed, taken out. You need to be more transparent because we don't know. Things are going on behind. There's one form that I came across that you're able to, an excusal from class program, but you need details. In order for us to even fill this out, we need the details. It needs to be disclosed. It's like if you are with an investment company and they make a change, they send you out all the disclosed changes. They disclose it all on paper for you to save. How about giving us that information so that we're able to move on? Fill out your form because it's the only one that I seem to be able to come across. There was an opt-out form that was handed out by hand at the schools, but immediately an email came across and it only addressed one side and that we're not accepting that form. And yet we still wait patiently and nothing. We're tired of asking. We are telling you. It's no more asking. We're telling you, come up with a solution. We are very, very upset. It's a delicate area. Either you have to take this more seriously, and if the equity council is in red, and that's what you're waiting on, get rid of them.
Oh, Scott Wasserman, I live on West Summit Avenue. I appreciate the very challenging position that every single person in this room is dealing with, and I know that you're all volunteers, so I appreciate you doing your best for the community. But what I really wanted to bring up, and it is the scariest thing that I've seen. We've all read 1984, but one person that loves to come up here and speak, Mr. Weidenbacher, said publicly, and I'm going to quote this, and where does this end?
Is he supposed to
Merriam
Webster's
distraction its reputation.
No, you should be not.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, you can't do that because he's not a public figure.
Okay, well, it comes to the ban. Okay. But the
Yeah, sorry, no, I'm not, yeah, you can't, because you can't,
okay.
you can't mention another.
There is
So,
Let's go, start the clock.
banning dictionaries is what has been recommended. That is a very, very
yes,
scary.
okay. I'm sorry, you need to sit down.
That's not.
Yeah.
Okay, strike that from the comment, but banning dictionaries.
Okay,
is
so
very
you'll have to sit down.
I've got.
Okay, we're gonna close public comment for tonight, so thank you. Okay, we'll go on to, items for Board of Education approval. Governance. We have the acceptance of the monthly suspension HIV vandalism report, approval to abolish policy 2432, school-sponsored publications. Policy approvals for first reading. We have 8465, Bias, Crimes, and Bias-Related Acts. 9180, School Volunteers. 2132, School District Goals and Objectives. Policy approval, the bylaws of student representatives of Board of Education, bylaws the quorum, Board of Education website accessibility, Every Student Succeeds Act, school districts issued student ID cards, student journalism, and HIB, approval of the 22-23 academic calendars for the elementary, middle, and high school, and approval of the 23-24 academic calendars. Both are second reading and adoption. So can I have a motion? Linda Gregg, discussion?
The HIB report, I know Lanny mentioned the resolution that we have about immediately notifying law enforcement that we met with the solicitor, we're told we don't have any choice. I wanted to get more context though, if any can be given. I said that the HIB is like on pause pending the prosecutor's office. Is that correct?
Correct. No. I notified chief, and if they believe this warrants an investigation, he will call back and say, pause the hit.
Okay.
So we had one the other day. He said, keep going.
Oh, okay, so you are
So
investigating.
we
it.
investigate.
Okay.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, and then how are we handling the nature of that particular hit, given the community issues that have occurred similarly in terms of swastikas, both in the community, not on school property, and on school property?
Yeah, but that we can't discuss because it would involve an individual student.
Okay.
We have
But
talked
like
about
district-wide.
restorative justice practices
We're having prosecutors coming in on the 4th, county prosecutor to give informed students about bias acts and bias crimes, what they are, So we have a better understanding there. So we are doing that. Middle school has been working with community groups to try also do more educational things.
Just because given that it's like the Jewish family, it seems especially important that we are making sure that we as a community are respectful and accepting of our Jewish community members.
There was a special forum held by Principal Tehran before back to school night. About 35 parents attended. It was a great community discussion. So there was a lot of positive dialogue that happened that evening that Mr. Tehran and Mr. Rubin, the assistant principal, facilitated.
Okay, great.
I like the prosecutor coming and talking to this, or who are they talking
He's going
to?
to talk to the high school,
Okay.
and then we're going to see about arranging. So it's not just us. So they're visiting schools all around Camden County
Yeah.
as part of the thing. So we were actually able to get him in, his team in on it's next Tuesday.
And what is that forum? Is that like an
It's
assembly
an assembly.
for the
It's an
entire
assembly.
school, the entire school together?
And part of this is it education about the seriousness?
It's educating the seriousness and kind of letting people know what they may not realize crosses lines, right? It's about this is it, and then this is potential consequence. So it's really supposed to be instructional as to, the make people aware that their actions may cross a line, and there are consequences if they cross a line. I believe they're starting at the high school. I know they're starting at high school. Far more likely they will do an investigation of a teenager than a 7th or 8th grade, 7 or 8-year-old. So that's why they started at the high school. That's the gist of what we're going through the process.
Chuck, on that, when you reach out to the, I know you discussed it, I just don't know if it was ever decided upon. When you reach out to the police to let them know of the bias-related act, has it been officially decided whether or not you're sharing?
I don't give names. So I give a student ID number, basic demographics, and a 2-sentence piece on what happened. And if they believe that raises an incident, they will reach out to me and ask for additional information. So that's how we do it. And he's okay with that, and as well as the county prosecutor. They don't need more information unless they believe there's something that has to happen.
And the student ID is not like publicly available?
No, it's school generated, so no one else would know it. We have
so consistent with what we had talked about in July when
each student has a local ID, which is what we make when they enter the system. Randomly gives a number, and you have a state ID, which follows you around. So we use the local ID.
Any other questions?
I do have a question. So with regard to the HIV report, is there a protocol for the report? How much data is in there? How often it's updated? So right now it's dating back to November 29th, 2021. There was a period of time where it wasn't updated for a long time. And then now, there's a bunch in there. So I don't know if we actually have any kind of procedure, standard operating procedure of this is how long the data sits there and
No, so when I came into the role, we didn't have a spreadsheet as we do. The headings on the spreadsheet correlate with the requirements of the policy and what we're required to report. So that is the information. There is no guidance from the state or no statute that would dictate the time. It's simply we keep it in one document, and that's why you see it that way. I don't believe that there is a time frame with which we have to maintain this information in this particular format for the board report.
Okay.
Other things that might wind up in the student's file or recorded as a disciplinary issue, those are guided by record retention laws.
All right, thanks. Any other questions? Could you call roll?
Vice President Hilderl,
Yes.
Ms. Benecki,
Yes, this didn't have, okay, just checking. I saw there were a few items that had friends, so I wanted to abstain from any.
Dr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Essenplayer,
Yes.
Ms. Hoag,
Abstain from A, no on C1, and no on D7, yes to that.
do I have that? You're abstaining from A, no on C1, no on D7, yes on the rest?
Yes.
Ms. Hollingsworth,
Yes.
Ms. Paoli,
Yes, but I'll vote no on C1.
Mr. Seidel,
No on C1, no on D7, yes on the rest. Congratulations on the calendar.
President Crooked.
Yes. Okay, curriculum and special education. So we have approval of the field trips, conferences, travel, the night field trips. Resolution to approve virtual and remote instruction plan for 22-23 school year. Approval of the Gloucester County Special Services School District to provide physical therapy. Resolution between the Haddonfield Board of Education and the Jewish Family Children's Service to provide job coaching. Resolution between the Haddonfield Board of Education and the Eastern County Regional School District for an out-of-district placement. Resolution between the Haddonfield Board of Education and the National Behavioral Network for behavioral support services. Resolution between the Haddonfield Board of Ed and Lark School for out-of-district placement. Resolution between the Haddonfield Board of Ed and Walsh Legacy for homebound instruction. Resolution between the Board of Ed and Janet Levinson for dyslexia intervention services. Resolution between the Board of Ed and Walsh Legacy for support personnel. Resolution between Board of Ed and JAG 1 Athletic Training Services. Resolution for substitute athletic trainers. Resolution between the Board of Ed and Dr. Woodolph to provide school observation, record review, and report writing. Resolution for the Haddonfield School District to serve as the host site for after-school vaccination clinics. Approval for the 22-23 ruler curriculum and book list. Approval for the K-5 Framing Your Thoughts Writing Curriculum Integration. Approval for the newly developed 6th grade World Language Exploratory Curriculum. Approval of the middle school tech music curriculum. Approval of the newly developed pacing guides for middle school accelerated math. 7. Approval for the newly revised preschool curriculum alignment. And textbook approval of Gospel at Colonus. Approval of some curriculum from HMHS. And the resolution for a student to receive homebound instruction. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Lynn, and we give Meg this one. Okay, discussion?
I noticed on the field trips, the walking field trips for the second grade, which I love that field trip. It says till 11:30 p.m. instead of a.m. I'm sure you're not keeping my kids. I'll give her to you.
Little walk all the way from.
Yeah.
Make it to the beach.
The only other thing that I noticed in the field trip was that there was one that was pretty expensive that was being paid for by the families. Did we have an opportunity for any kids that wanted to attend for which it would have been prohibitive to reach out with funding? Great.
I also want to make a comment on the ruler book list. There were 3 books that we pulled. You'll notice on this version, there are lines through them. They're from the 5th grade. In the books Ghost Boys, Teacher's New Dress, and The Other Boy. So the reason those books were pulled because when our librarians review and do the research for the level of appropriateness for these books, those 3 titles, depending on the source, some say it was a 5th grade level. Our ruler curriculum said it was a 5th grade level. Other sources did. Some other sources said it was a middle school level, a 6th grade level. So we went back and forth on whether or not we were going to include. We decided not to because we erred on thinking it was more appropriate in grade 6. And secondly, these books are used to make a literature connection to our ruler lessons. And novels, this is kind of the same reason we talked about lesson. Novels don't play well for a individual standalone lesson. These books aren't part of the language arts curriculum where they're reading it naturally in class, and then it's a nice extension. These lessons are meant to be standalone 45-minute lessons. And the literature connections are often short read alouds or excerpts from other books. So just to give you some of the thoughts of why.
The one that I was curious about was The Wizard of Oz, because my kid wanted to read that a couple years ago, and having reread it with my current eyes, I was a little surprised to see it on here, but hearing excerpts, like that's, yeah.
Yeah, so they use that in the, in the conflict. So I don't know off the top of my head, but it's the good receiver.
Yeah. Thank you for that explanation.
Yeah, thank you.
One thing I was noticing in the curriculum is they vary, which I think will happen now that we've switched our model to have it more locally. I mean, it was always locally sourced, even an old model, but there isn't someone uniformly like making it united. And I don't know if that matters or not, but it was just something I noticed. So I don't know if that will become
We'll take
a
a
problem
look
or
at
is
this.
it
So
okay?
we're actually looking at new software too for
Okay.
our lesson planning and
Because like some
mapping.
are
So
PowerPoints, like they all have the same info, but it looks different and everything. And I don't know if that's like, will that be a problem for QZAC review? Or will that end
No,
up being
yeah,
more or
that's more-
whatever?
that's
I
more
don't know. I'm just trying to think.
Yeah, we are actually looking at more software, different software for that as well. So it's like,
Yeah, might help. Okay.
And do these get updated in on course?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any other? Okay.
Ms. Benecki,
Yes.
Dr. Brown,
Yeah.
Mr. Essenpler.
Yes.
Ms. Hoag,
Yes.
Ms. Hollingworth,
Yes.
Ms. Paoli,
Yes.
Mr. Seidel,
Yes.
Vice President Hoagirtle,
Yes.
President Burkett.
Yes. Personnel, approval of new personnel transfers, salary upgrades, extracurricular coaching appointments, leave of absences and resignations. Resolution to approve the change in Paul Hopkins, who's a central EA in his. Resolution to approve the change in Janine Palmer's, bus EA hours. Resolution to approve Erin Hart, speech language pathologist for speech language evaluations. Resolution to approve Dana Reganata, our nurse, to be paid for sports physicals at the curriculum rate. Resolution to compensate Anna Sanchez for the 22-23 school year for teaching a 6-period class. Resolution to compensate several other teachers for teaching 6-period classes. And resolution to approve Erin Donnelly to provide student support for cross-country season. Motion.
Motion.
Dave,
Motion.
Meg.
Dr. Brown.
Oh, wait, we didn't discuss yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was like,
I just want to say that, thank you to those teachers who teach a 6-period class. I was one of those teachers for many years when I taught at Audubon High School. So it's a lot to give, you get compensated, but really for losing your prep, and it's a lot of work. So thank you for them.
And especially, they all are being very gracious, especially Anna, we had an issue with finding elementary school world language. And so Mr. Gwynn came back, and then Anna and
Jane Ogliero.
They just said, we'll help out, no worries. And
Oh,
and did. So that's how we're able to cover a position this year by those individuals struggling. We collaborate. And they came up with a solution. We couldn't figure it out. We asked them to solve the problem. They solved the problem. So,
Oh, that's great.
Not only did they work to solve the problem with us, but they did it with enthusiasm. And all three of those individuals, so they value too much what the kids are going to be experiencing every day. They don't want them sitting in front of a computer we're doing something distance learning, and the mantra was, we're going to make this work. It's a testament to the professionals and the teachers we work with every day. They're remarkable people.
That's great. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, we call roll, please.
Dr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Essenplayer?
Yeah.
Ms. Hogue?
Yes.
Ms. Hollingworth?
Yes.
Ms. Paoli?
Yes.
Mr. Seidel?
Yes, welcome aboard, Ms. Nevins.
Vice President Hogarth?
Yes.
Ms. Benecki?
Yes.
President Crooked?
Yes. Approval of the following business and finance recommendations. Approval of the food service agreement between the Haddonfield Board of Ed and Friends School. Approval of a settlement agreement. Approval of a collective negotiation agreement. Approved resolution between Haddonfield Board of Ed and the NL Aquatic Center. Approval of the Southern New Jersey Perinatal Cooperative. Resolution between the Camden County Educational Services Commission and the Haddonfield Board of Ed. For services provided for non-public schools paid out of our IDEA grant funds. Payment of bills, budget transfers, the board secretary's report, and cash summary report. Oh, can I get a motion? Motion. Beth? Lynn? Discussion?
I'm very grateful for A, which I will abstain on, but I really enjoy allowing my child to buy lunch.
Can someone give just a high level overview of the changes with the collective agreement?
It's mostly sidebars being pushed back into the agreement, and then just touch up some language, make sure we had everything. So we had a sidebar where a resignation from the teacher was, we had 30 days in the contract, it's supposed to be 60. We changed the contracts, that was not done right. The sidebar put that in. So what happens now, if you read the contract, it says 30, if you go down to the bottom, you find the sidebar. We just pushed everything into it, so this is clean document.
The finance committee, it sounded like they're making a single document. Right, they'll have like everything in it, so then we can use that going forward.
We had the craziness between the 17 to 20 contract and the 2021 contract and the current contract. We went back through a few law firms, and there was just things that weren't right where they needed to be. So a lot of work by Ms. Catalano, Ms. Gold, pages and pages and comparing and make sure everything's right. So we have it right. And then we also have it right, and we have it like saved. I think one of the things happened is people working on Google Docs, and they change things, they experimented, so all the crazy. So we're all set now.
Okay.
Before you call roll, can I ask, I am an elected Camden County Educational Services Commission board member, so should I abstain? I just need advice on that. Yeah, okay. Thank you. The first thing that come on the agenda, so I want to make sure you get it.
Okay, we're good.
Mr. Essenplayer?
Yes.
Ms. Hogue?
Yes.
Ms. Hollingsworth?
Yes.
Ms. Paoli?
Yes.
Mr. Seidel?
I am not voting on B, but yes to the rest.
Vice President Hogarth?
Yes.
Ms. Benecki?
Abstaining from A and F, yes on the others.
Dr. Brown?
Abstaining on F, yes to everything else.
President Crooked?
Yes. Yeah. Okay, and then approval of the minutes from August 25th, the regular meeting and the executive session. Motion?
Motion.
Dave? Motion. May? Discussion? Okay.
Ms. Hogue?
Yes.
Ms. Hollingsworth?
Yes.
Ms. Paoli?
Yes.
Mr. Seidel?
I will abstain.
Vice President Hobertle,
Yes.
Ms. Benecki,
Abstains.
Dr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Essenplayer.
Yes.
President Crooked.
Yes. Items for future board consideration. We have the ones we were talking about last time, but anyone have anything new? I remember we're talking about equity council next month. So, and who's gonna run this? Do you wanna run
I'll take
this
that one,
one?
sure.
Okay.
Did we talk about, or have we talked about, putting a little cheat sheet at the podium for public comment to sort of lay out some ground rules so we don't have a repeat of the situation this evening?
That's a good idea, especially
Yeah.
what you say beforehand is wonderful, but it
Yeah,
has to
they
be.
don't.
Just
And I have to
something
get
really,
better at
really,
it.
really
That's-
short.
I'm not good at,
Good.
I, I'm sorry. I feel like, I felt like I'm not very good at that, and I'm trying. Listen, it is, everyone is passionate and they're feeling that they're speaking their passion. You didn't do anything wrong. And I mean, while I think having a cheat sheet up there, it sounds good. I don't know that anyone's gonna come to the podium and read it. So, I mean, we certainly,
even if it's
but
just-
it kicks in effort.
And if it said like name, street,
Yeah.
begin.
Back-
You know what I mean? Like even such
Yeah,
a simple.
back to the
because I feel like we
ground-
get
ground
people,
rules.
right?
I just wanted to add to our list, I thought it was really helpful when folks say what their association to the district is. They have kids that graduated, if they're like me, they have kids entering, if they have kids currently enrolled.
But I don't know if we can, I don't know if we legally
we can
require
ask
that.
that.
I
Well,
mean,
we
it's
can't
nice to
require
get
it, but we
context,
could-
but
Yeah, we
Certainly.
could ask, we could suggest.
Yeah.
And you don't want to stay being too long, obviously, but, you know, we'll have to talk about some other, like addressing other community members.
Yeah.
That's something, you know, they're.
Yeah,
Anyway.
which I would say is different than referencing a comment that was made if you're not addressing the public. That's
Well,
my
I
opinion.
think that no name should be used.
Yeah, I think that's a great one.
Whatsoever.
Let's
No
add it to
name
the
has to
rules
be
so
used.
people know what the rules are. If they don't.
I feel like the rules list is getting longer and longer.
It is. Let's go back to the basics.
Well,
We can
we gotta
talk
keep it
about
short.
it.
yeah.
I don't recall if this is in your rules, but I was getting nervous tonight when the public would applaud for a lot of people, which was nice, and there was applause on both sides, which was also fair. But there has been booing in the past, and I cringe every time there's booing. So I would like to. I know it's already long.
Yeah,
I'd like to
I
say
think I would think it's covered under the decorum of and civility. I think it's covered under.
And I'm partially thinking I need to, Linda's more authoritative in that sense to me. So I'm gonna, if I'm starting to feel like I'm being too sheepish, I'm gonna pass it to Linda, although Meg had shown that.
I know,
don't need a gavel.
And just one thing, like about if someone gets booed and then you bang the gavel to silence the audience, it still leaves the person up there feeling super uncomfortable and finish what they were saying. Like most people, so if there's anything that can be done to ward that off.
Maybe give a grace, few seconds if it like disrupts.
I think what we've done, we've had a couple of meetings where things have gotten very emotional and we've stopped it and took a moment to say we appreciate everyone's comments. So kind of reset. We appreciate the fact that someone's up here and they're speaking, and we just want to be respectful of everyone. I think that that's the right thing. Yeah, I mean, it is, yeah. Process. But,
I will say the light gavel bang when they're overtime is nice. I don't think it should be a heavy one. So that was, if you think you're being light on.
Yeah, I try to give them a little bit of time to wrap up. And it's the teacher in me. I feel like I can't, like you have class for management strategies that you cannot do in this environment.
Well, that's, I think
I'm
we
like,
should get.
you're not listening. Like, I don't know
When
what
you
to
argue
say.
about there is a bar of lights.
And then people
Your
can see
time
where
is
they are.
green when you get in the danger zone, your time is yellow, and when it's red, you are begging the judge for one more word.
Oh, all right. Well, anything else before we adjourn? Get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Meg?
It's a question.
No.
Is it a possibility to have no reaction after people speak? Just
Just
silence? Because it's divisive either way.
Yeah, we'll talk, we'll discuss. There's certain rules about what we can do, so.
It's distracting me with people in the audience, like, I'm just here to listen, and when I hear them, kind of like, it's disturbing, and then I can't hear them talking.
Okay.
Claps loud.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Did we make a motion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
No.